Hello and welcome, you join me ADG, and here we are for race 4 of the Wide Open Throttle Debut Championship, which is a Group 3 and 4 championship. This time round, this is the second race that was held on Friday night, so this time round we're in the Group 3 cars and we're around, I don't know if you've heard of this track, but it's called Gr3 Nordschleife. So a bit of a battle, but it's certainly going to be an entertaining replay, so it should be a good one. Anyway, we'll go through the grid order. Like I've already said, we're in the Group 3 cars. So we've got Chris 74 Mac in first position in the Aston Martin GT3. And then we've got Rafael in second. This is a reverse grid from the finishing results from race 3, which was at Brands Hatch in the Group 4 cars. So Rafael in second in the Aston Martin, S2 Law in third in the Porsche, Dark Smoker in fourth in the AMG Mercedes, Random Jake in fifth in the Jaguar F-Type, Diablo in sixth in the Nissan GTR. We've got Ginger Crackhead in seventh in the BMW M4, Robust the Hood in eighth in the Jaguar F-Type as well. Angus McCotup, the only Renault on the grid, in ninth position. Rect Paul in 10th in the Jaguar. We've got GT Deli B in 11th in the Nissan GTR. Street Boy in 12th in the Lexus. And then we've got some unknown guy at the back called ADG123, which is me, in the the Audi R8. So, without much further ado, I'm going to stick with me right at the back for this one, just because there's a bit of action that we can catch ahead of us and see what's going on. This might be a bit of a longer replay because I'm going to go through and do a few little replays and go back and see what happened in certain incidents. So, without much further ado, we'll get underway and get this race started. There's plenty of action in this one. Brands Hatch was a bit of a stalemate halfway through, and there was a gap between everyone, but this one certainly ended up being an entertaining race between us all. Nordschleife is always tricky. Just bear that in mind as you watch. So we start really early on this rolling start. We'll go up a few places. We start really early. We're nowhere near the start-finish line as we get underway. So up ahead, there's already been a bit of an incident between Random Jake and Dark Smoker. So before they've even got started, we'll go back. Before they've even got started and gone over the start-finish line, they've already had a bit of an incident. Jake just getting it wrong on the brakes into the last corner of the track and going into the back of Dark Smoker. Diablo nowhere to go, so Diablo went into the back of Jake. And those guys are already trying to get back on track before they've even got started. So unfortunate for Dark Smoker, but that's not the end of Dark Smoker's race, so we'll keep an eye on that. And Random Jake trying to get going and see if he can get back into this one now. Angus McCotup up front also having a bit of a moment, so we'll jump to him and see what happens. Angus just missing that incident. He's in 7th as he heads into the first corner of the track. Gets a little bit loose at the rear and just puts it into the wall, so a few cars managed to drive past, including myself, and that's what happened there. So we go forward, a few guys dropping back already. I just clipped the curb and settled the car quite a little bit, so having to just gather it back up. Losing a little bit of time on Street Boy ahead. Street Boy right on the back of GT Deli B. Bear in mind, Dark Smoker, after that incident at the beginning, was in 13th place, and I think he still might be at this point. Just bear that in mind. More so for later on in the race, but yeah, not a good start for Dark Smoker. Street Boy, through no fault of his own, it's worth saying. Street Boy in 9th, chasing down Deli B, but Deli's managed to pull away a little bit, and then Chris 74 Mac, we see him on the side, just going a little bit slowly, so let's go back and see what happened to Chris. They're just coming through the Fluplats, I think it's called, is this corner. And just going too fast through there, getting the line a little bit wrong and running it out wide with a little bit of understeer, so losing his first place start position. and dropping down the order, just getting out of the way, knowing that he's going slowly, making sure that he doesn't collect anyone as he comes back on track. So it's the right thing to do, but he's lost a lot of positions from doing that. So Chris unfortunately losing out almost straight away on the first lap, but he doesn't really enjoy the Aston Martin by the sound of it, and he's having to battle with a new controller and a different environment. I think he's moved his PlayStation into a different room, so it's all feeling a bit weird for him. So he didn't have the best night on Friday, Chris, but I'm sure he'll be back on top form within no time whatsoever. Next week, basically. Rex Paul just having a bit of a moment there, just collecting a bit too much curve, so we'll go back and watch that. Rex Paul in 6th, GT Deli right behind him, collects the wall, just gets a bit unsettled through there, tries to regain the line, but as he does that, he pulls across in front of GT Deli B, puts him on the grass, and then Rex Paul just has another little moment. Street Boy goes into the side of him, so it's a big moment. A lot of cars get through there, so we'll look at that again from Street Boy's perspective. Just go back, so Street Boy is following GT Deli B. There goes Rex Paul into the barriers, collects Deli B as he regains his line and gets back on track, and then Rex Paul just loses it as he gets the line wrong through there as well. Street Boy's got absolutely nowhere to go, so collects him and just struggles to get going again as Chris 74 Matt gets through. Angus McCurtup gives him a little bit of grief, and Dart Smoker gets through. So Dart Smoker, that was in 13th place not so long ago, he's up into 9th now. Really good racing from Dart Smoker, making the most of the incidents that are happening ahead of him. So Street Boy, unfortunately, through no fault of his own again, he had nowhere to go there, but ended up collecting Rex Paul and dropping down. So bit of a bad one for Street Boy, but we've got plenty of the race left. We're only 3 minutes in and there's a lot of action already happened, so this will continue. Meanwhile, at the front we've got Rafael still leading. He's managed to get into first place quite early on, and he's leading away from Ginger Crackhead now, and Robert Hood's in third. All still pretty close at the front, so it's good stuff. Good, clean, close driving going on. Diablo nowhere to be seen behind them. I mean, it's all very close. I don't know why I said that, it completely came out the wrong way. It's nothing in it behind him, should I say. And there's the move. I want to pick up on this one. This is a bit naughty from Robus. If you go on board with him though, to be completely fair, I watched this yesterday. If you go on board with Roberts at this point, just going back a few, about 20 seconds, Ginger gets a little bit out of shape as he comes out of there, so he loses the run. Roberts manages to get side by side as they go through this fast left-hander. Roberts catches a little bit too much grass, trying to give his brother a little bit more room, and from Roberts' point of view, he didn't do that much wrong, but if you look at it from Ginger Crackhead's point of view, it was quite a big moment, that. So we'll look from the outside this time round, and Roberts just smashing into the side of him. So like I say, from Roberts' point of view, it didn't look like a massive incident, but it just massively unsettled the car of Ginger Crackhead, and there he goes, he spins and loses loads of positions as he has to wait till everyone comes through. So Dart Smokers, we join Street Boy up ahead. Dart Smokers now in 7th. In fact, we'll go back a few seconds again. We'll jump on board with Dart Smoker and see how he's managed to get these positions. So he's in 9th at the moment, like we saw a few seconds ago. We've gone back about a minute again. So just following Angus McCourt up. There's so much action going on in this race. Chris in front of Angus in 7th. Chris having a good recovery after having a big moment himself and finding himself on the grass. So what happens down here? It must get fruity down here, because Dart Smoker manages to get through somewhere. So Chris having a moment there, caught it nicely though, to be fair to him, but lost a little bit of momentum on the exit. So Angus gets a chance to just dive around the inside for the outside for the next one, and Dart Smoker just follows him through. Respectful driving from Chris, didn't want to cause any incident, knew that he was going slowly and he'd lost the momentum, and good driving from Chris there to avoid any contact. Dart Smoker doing a good job as well to avoid the contact, but unfortunately Chris drops back a few positions there with a tiny little mistake, and there we see Ginger Crackhead with that spin after getting collected by Robert. That's a little moment from Dart Smoker that we've just seen as well. So Dart Smoker just getting back on track, collects Chris behind him, and GT Deli B manages to slip through because of that. So Deli B almost leaning on the side of Dark Smokers. Dark Smokers trying to drive defensively and not let him through. We'll go on the cinematic camera all of a sudden, and we've got Street Boy in this battle right there as well. So Angus McCourt losing out now. Dark Smoker coming through. GT Deli B going a little bit wide, Street Boy going wide, and someone else behind Street Boy going wide as well. Didn't quite catch who that was. So it's all going on through here. But the moment Dark Smoker's making good. I'll just remind you, it's lap 1 and he was in 13th position at the beginning of this lap after an incident before the race even started properly. So GT Deli B in 7th, having a good race as well. He started right at the back. Angus McCourt getting it going after losing it through the carousel there, and Rex Paul has a chance to come through with just a bit more momentum, and manages to get past Angus McCourt, punishes him for that little mistake. So Street Boy and Rex Paul get through. Random Jake in 11th now, leading away from Ginger Crackhead after that incident. He had to wait and wait for everyone to come through and get going safely, so he's dropped right back because of that moment. And now in 12th. Chris has already given up in this race. He just couldn't get going on Friday night. I felt for him a little bit, to be fair. So Angus losing out a little bit to Rep Paul now. Rep Paul can concentrate on catching the back of Street Boy, and Street Boy's got GT Deli B to try and follow in front of him. Deli B and Dark Smoker going through. Dark Smoker, good move on Robust there. Just managed to get the pace to get right up behind him and then make the opportunity work. Bear in mind as well, it's not an easy track to overtake on, is Nordschleife, so really good moves going on from Dark Smoker to make this work for him. He's already up into 5th. S2 Law, a little bit of a gap to Dark Smoker behind him, but doing a good job in 4th. Following me, ADG in 3rd at this point. So I was pretty happy with my race at this point, because the mistakes other people had made that just let them basically giving me loads of positions. So I started right at the back in 13th, and I've made up 10 positions in the first lap. So I'm chasing Diablo now, trying to get in Diablo's slipstream for the long straight. And we're heading down the long straight now. We've come out of the last little tricky sector. There's a couple of corners before the start finish line, but this is the longest straight on the track. So just managing to get in Diablo's slipstream, but not quite close enough to have a chance into this next couple of corners. But battling away, or able to battle away now. We've closed up, or I've closed up to the back of Diablo. Rafael having a really good consistent start to this race, got a really good lap 1 in, and just managed to pull a nice gap to Diablo in 2nd place. So he's broken the slipstream at this point, so it's for Diablo to try and really push and try and get back in that slipstream from Rafael and try and gain a gap to the guys behind as well at the same time. So anyway, we'll catch back up with Dark Smoker. We see him now in 4th position, going slowly though. So S2 Law has had a bit of a moment there as Dark Smoker. So S2 Law comes back through. So there's GT Deli B, and Dark Smoker's now behind in 6th position behind Deli B. Good stuff though. Little incidents happening. It's close between these guys at the moment. So one tiny little incident will drop you back a few positions. So you just got to bear that in mind as difficult as Nordschleife is. Oh, big moment there from Deli B and S2 Law, both going wide through there. So another position change for Dark Smoker, going up into 5th. And then Robust Hood gaining from that one as well, from Deli B, and Street Boy gaining as well. So Robust up into 6th, Street Boy in 7th, and GT Deli B in 8th now after that small little incident. Exactly what I just mentioned. Tiny incident, tiny little mistake, and you've dropped back 3-4 positions. That's the nature of close racing. It's good. It's heart in mouth stuff when you have a moment when it's that close. So Ginger Crackhead managing to get through and make his way slightly more into this race now in 11th. dropped off Random Jake behind him, and Chris not really taking part anymore. S2 Law was involved in that battle a minute ago, but dropped into 9th. That Smoker not letting that one lie, and he's right back on the back of Deli B. Wrecked Paul now has to handle the pressure of these two trying to get through. Street Boy up into 5th, and he's battling away with Robus in 4th. So let's go back, because Wrecked Paul's had a bit of a moment there, I think. I don't want to go back too far. No, I won't go back too far, so we'll just have to sacrifice it. But Wrecked Paul's dropped off, and Robus has got through into 4th. Street Boy is battling away now for 5th, for 4th even. Right behind him. Tricky little sector they're coming through now, tight and technical. Quite fast at the same time, but it's quite easy to attack the curbs a little bit too much and have a bit of a mistake. It's not very wide, is the Nordschleife, so it's as soon as you have a little moment, it's hard to keep it out of the barriers. Good driving from these two at the moment though. Heavy on the brakes. This is one of the trickier corners on the track. Going through nice and cleanly there. Robus and Street Boy doing a good job. So we'll jump up. We haven't given much credit to Rafael. Me and Diablo are still racing quite closely together in 2nd and 3rd. But Rafael in 1st. Managing to pull a nice gap, as I've already said, to Diablo behind, and doing a really, really good job on this race so far. Lap 3 is quite an interesting lap, and I'm not going to ruin it for you if you weren't involved, but a lot of things change on lap 3, so we shall keep an eye on that when it comes up. So Street Boys got it done eventually. Let's see where it was. No, I don't want to make it too long, so I won't go back for every single moment. But Street Boys done a good job there. Chased down Roberts for quite a long time, put him under a bit of pressure, and eventually he's managed to make the opportunity work when it arose. So really good racing from Street Boy. See what else is going on. Wrecked Paul getting chased down by GT Deli B now for 6th position, and then we've got that Smoker right behind him at the moment in 8th. So a bit of a yo-yo race from that Smoker at the moment, but we'll still keep an eye on him and see where he comes. It's one of his favourite tracks is this. He's fast round here, capable of doing really quick times. Not always possible when you've got two cars right in front of you though. So Wrecked Paul looks like he's doing a good job of handling the pressure of GT Deli B, which is no slouch. Not the easiest car to drive around here, the GTR, but doing a good job of it is Deli. Every car on the track's got its strengths and weaknesses. So it's still incredibly close. As you can see, the guys in front of the Wrecked Paul aren't that far away. Robust and Street Boy. Up front, Rafael, Diablo and myself have managed to pull a bit of a gap to the guys behind, but it's not a massive gap we've built up. But we have a little respite from any pressure from behind as a group of 3. Again, me and Diablo at this point really pushing to try and catch up and getting Rafael's slipstream. I've got Diablo's slipstream, so I'm already a bit of an advantage over Diablo, but yeah, catching up to Rafael was no easy task. So coming onto the long straight now, I think this is where you'll see me actually bump drafting Diablo. And my reasoning behind that, I said let's work together as a team. And my reasoning, if it sounds like particularly suspect, it isn't, because my reasoning is, if I can keep Diablo in front of me I've still got Diablo's slipstream, but if I can knock him into Rafael's slipstream with a bit of a bump draft, then we can catch up to the lead. So if me and Diablo manage to get past Rafael, then I'm in second place, not third place. So it just makes complete sense. That's why I bump draft. So that's why I did it that time round on Diablo. I wanted him to catch up to Rafael and get in Rafael's slipstream, in which case I could then have an attempt at maybe winning the race, basically, if I stuck with Diablo. So just to explain why it might have sounded like in the chat me and Diablo were working together, but that's all I meant by it. Working together in that way, really. I'm not going to give Diablo the place if I can help it. I'm going to go for the move as soon as there's a chance. Anyway, enough about that. So, Street Boy got a nice gap. I've actually taken the place as well as Diablo. I thought it was sometime soon. Diablo goes a little bit wide, so I managed to get through up into second, and I've chanced to now try and get into Rafael's slipstream myself. Diablo dropping off a little bit from the back of me after that little incident, but he does catch back up. Street Boy in fourth has now got a chance to catch up with Diablo as well. After that little bit of an incident, he's gained time on Diablo. Dele is quite close behind Robust now, looking to get in that slipstream. Something wrong with my pad, there's like a real delay to when I press the button. Rex Paul right behind GT Dele B. Rex Paul's dropped back a little bit, but he still seems to be having a good race. And he's sticking with the guys in front, so hopefully he can make up time and try and make some moves later on. Oh, behind him we've got Dark Smoker all over on the grass. Goes wide into there, just gets it wrong on the brakes. Doesn't suffer too much of an incident, but loses a lot of time. So Dark Smoker has now got a lot of work to do yet again to try and catch up. Angus McCoy up in 9th now, driving round on his own with a bit of a gap behind him to Ginger Crackhead. S2 Law in 11th, Random Jake in 12th, and Chris 74 Mac in 13th. So Random Jake and S2 Law having a bit of a race at the back. Sounded like they were having good fun on the chat as well. Ginger Crackhead still a bit of a position that he could gain here on Angus. So he could get himself up into 9th with a bit of good work. Keep an eye on that and see if he manages to do it. But we'll keep an eye on the action further up. We've got Dark Smoker right on the back of Robust now. So Robust has had a little bit of an incident somewhere because Dark Smoker was riding round on his own a minute ago. I say riding round, they're not on bikes. Driving round. Just going to have a quick sip of juice because I'm getting a bit of a dry throat. Robust all over the place through there, but managed to collect it quite nicely. Gathered it up and kept it under control in the end. Dark Smoker going a little bit too quick into there, so losing the rear end, trying to get it turned in a bit too quickly into the apex. Loses a little bit of time on Robust as he come onto this section where it's important to be in the slipstream. Anyway, we'll skip back up even further. Robust getting through this corner nicely. Let's see if he does. Yep. Dark Smoker behind though, gains quite a bit through there. Let's skip up, see what other action's going on. Oh, my pad's going mental. What's wrong with it? Something wrong with my pad, so do bear with me if it does some weird things. Like they're skipping 2 people. So I'm actually putting a little bit of pressure now on Rafael in front, trying to get myself up into the lead. Rafael having a little bit of a kick of oversteer as he turns into the carousel there. But I didn't take it particularly well, so Rafael gets a good exit compared to me. Trying to keep it nice and steady, make sure I actually hook up the apexes everywhere I go. Rafael, like I said, doing a good job on this lap. Good job so far in this race, not just on this lap. Didn't start the racing first. Oops, skipping up again. I'm gonna have to use my wheel. Yeah, didn't start the racing first, Rafael, but he's done a good job to get up there nice and early after a few little incidents, and he's now got a good chance of winning the race. Diablo doing a good job of sticking with us after a bit of an incident. He's managed to close back up, so he's not too far behind. He's not far off getting back into the slipstream. So yeah, I'm having to use my wheel to control this now. Stupid pad. So hopefully you're enjoying this one. It's a tricky one to do, if I do say so. There's a lot of stuff to commentate on, and it's hard to do it justice. It's hard to keep the context going between everyone's race, really. A lot of people starting towards the back, or they've dropped back and then they've come back through, and it's really, really hard to portray that and put it across. GT Delhi and Wrecked Paul seem to be having a good sector to this race at the moment. The last 5-10 minutes or so, they seem to be just racing around together and doing a good job keeping it clean. That Smoker did get past Robus in the end, so up into 7th, and Robus in 8th now. That's too low, allowing Jake to go through by the look of it there. Oh, we've got Ginger Crackhead having a spin. He's already had a spin and he's on the grass trying to get going again. It looks like he's going to have to do a bit of a 3-point turn. Not got the best camera angle to catch it, but that allows Angus McCobe just to drive through Ginger Crackhead's ghost as he gets going again. So Ginger Crackhead with a moment on his own and losing out there to Angus. Robbie going a little bit wide into the last corner. Keep an eye on Diablo at this point, I think. Well and truly into lap 4 now. If you actually watch my Audi R8, you can see how stiff it is. It feels so stiff on the suspension, it just bounces rather than takes any of the bumps. So you like kind of skip across the track if you're not careful. Diablo back in my slipstream, so trying to do a similar thing to what we were doing before, but I'm the one in second this time round, but still trying to catch Rafael. Diablo just getting the exit line a little bit wrong there. Not too bad though. Keeps it on track. I thought it was lap 3 where there was a big incident, but it's lap 4, so again I'll have to keep an eye on that one definitely, and we'll if I miss it I'll go back and watch the replay, because I'll go back and re-watch it, because certainly a big one. I think there's a bit of a conspiracy theory I've got. There's a bit of oil put down on track by one of Street Boy or GT Delhi B's friends, and they must have had walkie-talkies or something. I'm not sure exactly on the details and how they did it, the logistics of it all, but there was definitely some dodgy going on lap 4, and I am putting the blame on Street Boy and GT Delhi B. Obviously they were driving, so they've employed someone to put something on the track, and that's the way it'll all become clear when you see it. There's something suspicious about it, definitely. So that's my little conspiracy theory. Paid the marshals or something like that. I mean, it's getting close up ahead by the look of it, but Street Boy's getting into this race now and he's not far off first position really. He's only a couple of seconds back from first position, so Deli B's not that far away from Street Boy either, so this race is starting to close up again now. We're 23 minutes into this race, 24 minutes nearly. So we're coming towards the end of the race. We still have another lap to go after this one, but yeah, it's starting to get towards the end, and it's all actually closing up a little bit. So you think the gaps will keep growing and growing, but no, it's the opposite on this. A little mistakes coming in, and people following each other go a little bit slower. So the guys behind that aren't following anyone closely manage to catch up a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And it ends up closing back up. Oh, just joined S2 Law and Random Jake at the wrong time, because Random Jake just loses it on the exit through that tight, tricky little sector, and just loses it with a bit of oversteer, trying to get his foot down nice and early. S2 Law benefits from that one, up into 10th. There's a constant battle going on between those guys. Skip through again. Got GT Deli B. Oh, I've had a little bit of a moment now, so I've dropped back from second position into fourth. In fact, let's go, and if it wasn't too long ago, there it is. So we'll go back and watch what I did wrong. Basically just caught the grass, if I remember rightly. Yeah, just caught the grass there, tried to carry on, could not because I was still on the grass, and just drove straight clean into the wall. Had to worry about who I was going to collect if I came back on, so looked behind me, Street Boy was coming through, let him through, and away I went again, but that meant I lost quite a bit of time, and then GT Deli was now right on my tail. So bit of a bad moment for me there personally, and drops me down from second into fourth. Easily done though. It is the Nordschleife, and it's a hard track to remember every single corner and take them absolutely perfectly every lap. Deli closing right in on me now. So we're going to jump on board with Diablo, Street Boy and Rafael now, because the moment I've been referring to is coming up sometime soon. So we're coming towards the last couple of minutes of, or the last minute or so of lap 4. Watch this coming through this corner. This is the conspiracy theory question mark moment. So Rafael coming through here after driving perfectly well for a long time, ends up hitting the curb, collects Street Boy, Diablo, sorry. Street Boy manages to get through, and then if we go back a little bit further, there's all sorts goes on here, right. So we'll go back again. We're on board with me now in fourth. So in front we're going to see Rafael and go off, collect Diablo, Street Boy gets through, but watch what I do as well. We'll watch it from GT Deli actually. I take too much curb, I go off as well, so there's the suspect oil. Everyone just goes off on the same corner, but no one really actually made contact other than Diablo. And then someone else went off as well, I think. So it was absolutely ridiculous. Dark Smoker, that's it. I collected Dark Smoker actually. So, well, I couldn't do anything about it. I span and I was in the middle of the track and unghosted for some reason. So I don't know why it unghosted, but Dark Smoker was the victim of me sat in the middle of the track, so he ended up getting collected in that. So it was a massive moment. So Street Boy and GT Deli B, this is why I suspect they've employed someone to put a bit of oil down, or a couple of banana skins, because they're up into first and second after that. saying that, they just drove the track and actually avoided every incident going and just kept those corners clean, and it just worked out perfectly for them. And Street Boy and W.O.T now have their little moment coming out of the last corner to go into lap 5. So it's all kicking off, and I don't know whether it's a bit of concentration going or what, but everyone seems to be battling away with the cars all of a sudden. So let's skip up the camera angle again. So Diablo not losing out too badly through that, other than making contact to losing time, but he's still in 3rd position. That Smoker now up into 4th after all that. So he ended up losing out a little bit of time because he went into me as unghosted, but he's still in 4th, so good result. And again, I will say it again because it's been a long time since we started. That Smoker was right at the back right at the beginning, through no fault of his own, that is. Rafael in 5th, chasing Dark Smoker really closely. So Rafael, the biggest loser out of all that, really, dropping down into 5th from 1st position. I'm in 6th, and then we've got Robus, bit of a distance behind us guys, in 7th. But yeah, it's mixed up the order quite nicely, is that one now. So it was quite an interesting race actually at the time, because obviously you're not expecting getting towards the end of the race to all of a sudden gain like 3 or 4 positions. So an interesting one for Street Boy, GT W.O.T and Dark Smoker, really made up a lot of positions through that. So yeah, kept it interesting right till the end of that. Wrecked Paul in 8th now. No one really in front or behind him to chase. Angus in 9th. Random Jake in 10th. We've got S2 Law in 11th. Jake's got back past S2 Law. I remember him saying on the chat that one of them would gain a little bit of a gap to the other, and then there'd be a horrific mistake. They'd lose about 8 to 10 seconds, and then the other person would come through. And then vice versa, the mistake had happened the other way around and the other person would get back through. So it sounded like they were having good fun, if nothing else. So we've got me and Rafael quite close together. We'll keep an eye on this just because it's closest of our action at the moment. Dark Smoker not that far ahead as well. Oh, I just had a bit of a moment there on the brakes. I think I actually didn't. No, I didn't go into the back of him. I avoided going into the back of him, which made me lose it a little bit. I think I went too heavy on the brakes and I couldn't quite handle it into there. Ended up hitting the wall. So Rafael dropping me off a little bit there as he gets past, not past, he drives a bit better than me and gains a little bit of a gap. Interesting colours he's got going on in the Aston Martin there. In 5th position. Not a bad result, but he'll be kicking himself after being in 1st position for the majority of the race. So the time's now run out, so we now are on the final lap. Street Boy doing a really good job at this point, gaining a nice healthy lead over GT W.O.T. He had a good lead as he got up into 1st, so it's not that W.O.T's driving badly or anything. W.O.T's probably closed in on him if anything, but he's still got a nice healthy lead, a nice gap, so you don't have to worry too much coming through the carousel for the final time. Good little section, this little bit up here. I like this couple of corners. Incredibly fast left, right is this one. And then into a tight right-hander, which is quite fast as well. Love that little sector. Diablo not too far behind. If there's any mistakes that happen up front, he still could gain a position. Rafael got the gap on me now. I don't think there's much I can do about it really. Rafael was already led away from me throughout this race in one way or another, in a different position now, but still leading away from me. And really hard to keep up with him on this track. So credit to Rafael. From a personal note, it was a really good race between you and me. Oh, Random Jake having a little bit of a moment, so we see it again. S2 Law coming through, taking 10th position. And Jake now down into 11th. So where are we? Everyone's coming towards the long straight. Keep an eye on the guys at the front. Street Boy finishing second in race 3 of the championship, and GT Delhi B finishing in third in the end, after sticking in second position most of the race. But anyway, it gets complicated, I won't go into that. So another good result in race 4 for these guys. Consistent podiums. Street Boy the first to come over the line, it will be in the end. GT Delhi B is just a little bit too far behind to take advantage of the slipstream down the long straight, so unfortunately he's not really going to have the opportunity to do anything on the brakes unless Street Boy has a moment through these last couple of corners. But really good race in the end from these guys. They deserve it. They've had a good consistent race, and Street Boy comes through to win the race. Congratulations Street Boy, brilliant stuff. GT Delhi B in second, and then we've got Diablo coming through in third to round out our podium. Dat Smoker with a really good finish in the end in fourth. He could be proud of himself for that one. Could have had a better result again if he hadn't have had that moment at the beginning. Ninth, fifth is Rafael. Sixth is ADG now coming over the line. Wrecked Paul coming through the last corner now to take 7th place. We've got Robbers the Hood behind him in 8th. Robbers, not a favourite track of Robbie's, but his decent result is that, is 8th. Angus in 9th. Still coming down the long straight, so a bit of a gap to Angus behind Robbie, but he's going to nice and easily secure that 9th place with no one behind him. And then a long way back, not even getting towards the long straight yet, is S2 Law and Random Jake. So we'll keep an eye on Angus as he comes over the line. Gets a nice bit of screen time at the end. And there we go, he comes through the last corner to finish in 9th. Good race from Angus. Bit mixed, he had an incident early on which sent him backwards, and he struggled to make up positions from that point on. So we've got Jake just getting past S2 Law with the slipstream at the end. S2 Law looking for the slipstream to get back past him before the last little section where there's a couple of corners and then it's the start finish straight. Can he do it, S2 Law? Oh, he's pushed it a little bit too hard through there. Took a bad line and ended up on the grass. So I dare say that's Random Jake's now, unless he makes a mistake. Oh, and they both make a mistake. Jake going wide, but S2 Law just planting it straight into the barrier. So Jake finishing in 10th in the end, and S2 Law with a crash towards the end finishing in 11th. Chris in 12th in the end of all that, not taking part halfway through, just not feeling it this week. So anyway, it goes on forever, does this, because we have to wait for Chris or the time to run out. So that's pretty much it. Go through the order again. Street Boy winning, really good result, really good win, congratulations. GT Delhi B in second, Diablo in third, Dat Smoker in fourth. Rafael, I felt a little bit for him because he did lead the majority of the race and did a really good job, but at the end of the day he had a big incident all on his own, and it was enough to drop him back. But I do feel for him because it could have been a win for him, that one. ADG in 6th,
Rex Paul in 7th, Robert in 8th, Angus McCope in 9th, Random Jake in 10th, S2 Law in 11th, and effectively 12th is Chris. Take care, see you again soon, hit subscribe and like if you haven't done already, and I hopefully will see you again soon like I've just said. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and adios.